half-hour historic healthcare summit led by President Obama to review the details of the healthcare reform legislation. So, excuse me. I'm going to ask everybody to continue to be respectful. To continue to be respectful. So,
be respectful to us when you lie.
Okay.
And do not be respectful when you lie to the American people. You know how you lie?
Excuse me. Okay, everyone, let's just have. This isn't helpful. You don't look. You're welcome to be here and ask me a question. Like I said, you're going to support some of the things that people say. You're going to oppose some of the things that people say. You are not welcome to disrupt this meeting. And if you want to ask a question, I'm happy to answer it. And I've answered that one. And now we can move on to the next question. Jody? Yes.
She'd like to.
Okay, that's fine. Marjorie?
My apologies,
That's okay,
because
I know.
I've had this short-term memory loss. How can this help me? Because if everyone, please.
Let's all be respectful of the people who are here to ask the question, okay?
I forgot my question because I have short-term memory loss, and my apologies.
No, that's okay. No problem.
I wondered how this will help me because a few years ago I was hit in the head with a metal ball by a special ed student. I cannot remember things. I cannot function properly. I've had no health care for 3 years, and so I'm wondering how this will help me since I'm not able to work anymore and cannot have health care.
Are you on Medicaid now?
I've applied. We're just waiting for everything. Workers' comp is trying to settle. I've never been paid my disability from the school board.
Okay.
And hopefully that will come soon.
Well, first of all, let us, Vivian, who is standing next to you, handles constituent casework for my office, like yours, particularly healthcare-related constituent casework. So if you need some assistance in helping us, in having us help you get those benefits that you're entitled to, we'd be glad to do that so we can open a case and follow up with Vivian afterwards. And then, but specifically, I don't know your financial situation, but what we did in this law was we changed the eligibility requirements for some folks to qualify, to make them more likely to qualify for Medicaid. You're now eligible up to 133% of the federal poverty level to qualify for Medicaid. So depending on what your income level was before, if you didn't already qualify, there's a good chance that you will now, particularly because you're unable to be employed. So thanks for your question, and you know, obviously it's no problem. That's how you forgot. No problem. Jody? Okay. Andrew McAllister from Dania Beach. We'll see if this one's actually neutral. The broad definitions of neutral here. Okay, so another non-neutral neutral question.
I saw you on TV pushing to wait to 50 to get a mammogram. After Catherine Sebelius had that whole entire, you should wait till 50. But you passed legislation to get for early awareness. I was just wondering how you're going. We have YouTube here, we can pull it up.
Feel free
to watch it.
Because I did no such thing. Excuse me, I've got your question. Nothing could be further from the truth. I'm a breast cancer survivor, with all due respect, and I was in fact, all the advocacy and public activism that I did related to the totally inappropriate United States Preventative Services Task Force recommendation, which I was 100% opposed to. Every statement I made was that they should not be recommending that women get mammograms only once they turn 50. In fact, I sponsored legislation that is now law, that passed as part of the healthcare reform law. It wasn't related to mammograms specifically, but it was, what it was is that in sharing my story about my own personal experience with breast cancer, one of the things that I wanted to make sure that I used my profile to help is helping young women who often get dismissed and sent home from the doctor when they present with a problem with their breast, who too often think that they're invincible, who don't go and get that problem checked, and who are dismissed by their healthcare provider and told it was just a cyst. So I sponsored the Education and Awareness Requires Learning Young Act to make sure that we raised awareness and helped young women who were 15 to 45 years old be more aware of focusing on their breast health. So I was adamantly opposed to those recommendations, and we don't have time to, well, let me help clarify your characterization. I absolutely was adamantly opposed and did at least a dozen news appearances debating people who were in favor of those recommendations. I was totally opposed to them.
Next, we're on to the opposed. Gary Rogers from Hollywood.
Oh boy. You gotta tell him. You know it's gonna be you better check the hat. He doesn't look happy.
He's got his NRA shirt on.
He does not look happy.
He needs his part.
That's classic.
Congresswoman, who gave you the right or the authority to determine whether or not I have to purchase health care? The Constitution.
That's a good question. I'm glad you asked it. We actually have not required in this law that you carry health insurance. Let me explain what we did. What we did is that just like when you're treated, we categorize you differently based on in terms of your tax return, when you're married versus single. Just like we categorize you differently when you're a homeowner versus someone who doesn't own a home. Just like you categorize you differently when you have children versus not having children. What we're doing is that you will be in a different tax status if you carry insurance versus not carrying health insurance. So you can feel free to choose not to carry health insurance. That's just going to be reflected in the tax category that you're in on your tax return. But there is no requirements in this law that you must carry health insurance. Thank you for your question.
Okay, we had this lady already.
How much
You have to look at the U.S. Constitution, Commerce Clause.
Okay, there's a whole bunch of support things. It's the same guy, Gary Rogers, stuffed the support box. There's no name on this one.
Okay. Hold the next one.
There's none. Oh, here we go. David Singer, Miami Beach.
David Singer. David, are you here? Hey, David, can you go outside?
Later.
What?
How's she gonna find her car for the meeting?
Jody, let's take a.
There's no name.
Okay. Let's pull the name from the pro box until we get someone who's actually pro instead of switching boxes.
We didn't do that before, though.
Well, that's what we should be doing. We need to go give each category of person an opportunity to ask a question.
Kevin Marchin, Coral Springs.
Kevin Martin, Coral Springs. Hi.
With the new changes that are taking place with the
Wait for the microphone.
funding,
Hold on, let's get you a microphone.
With all the new changes that have just taken place, President Obama said that the tax credits for kids going to school, that was, let me rephrase the question.
Okay, no problem. Take your time.
The grants, I'm talking about the scholarship grants.
Yeah.
How is that?
The college affordability grants?
Yes, how is that going to be changed now?
Okay. As part of the reconciliation law that we just passed, adding the changes, we increased Pell Grants so that there's more funding, more Pell Grant scholarship funding available to students. We changed the student loan program so that now student lending will be done through a direct loan process, because the way the student loan process worked before, you had a lot of the private banks that skimmed a lot of money off the top took a lot of money out of the student